This thing is a real trooper. No, it really is. Let's get started.
That was funny, Wizard.
It really is a trooper. It's an Isuzu Trooper II. Whatever that means. On the back it says Isuzu Trooper II. This is a 1986 Isuzu Trooper II. Actually, in the last video we did on the S2000, you guys peeked at this thing in the background and you said, I want a video on the Trooper. So that's what we're doing today. This one's been around the block a few times, or maybe 12 or 13 times. But it still runs and drives fine. The customer just bought it and they want a lot of things brought up to snuff and fixed up. These are really, really cool vehicles. If I was looking for a vehicle to go up into the mountains that was reliable and easy to fix when it breaks, because no matter what brand you buy, they're going to break. Something's going to break on the trail. These would be definitely on the top of my list. There's several issues we're going to take a look at today, but let's go ahead and take a look around this thing. Some of you guys have, like I said, seen it, but you haven't seen all the way around it. So let's take a look. This thing would fit in Australia, Mrs. Wizard.
That is a serious brush guard.
That's to hit the kangaroos and things and knock them out of the way, I guess.
Don't hurt the kangaroos, they're so cute.
No, don't hurt them, just push them out of the way. It did have some funny fog lights right here that were blue, some AutoZone specials, and the customer said, get that garbage off my Trooper. And I said, happily, I will happily remove that junk from your bumper. So that is gone. You can see the little screw holes where they were. They're in the trash now. And we go around to this side. It does have some new tires on it. You can see they are Falcon Wild Peak AT, which are probably pretty good tires. If this was my ride, I wouldn't put $6 grand worth of tires on it. I would put something that works and enjoy the vehicle. You can see a lot of the cladding, like here, has been held on with some sheet metal screws. This one's still being attached by stock methods. And that one, Mrs. Wizard thinks, is subfloor adhesive for house construction.
Oh yeah, it totally looks like it. Applied twice. First time, second time.
The original adhesion was the black lines there, you can see. I think whatever impacted here dislodged it. As we get towards the rear, there's cladding still intact there. And here it says, like I mentioned, Isuzu Trooper II. It's got a fun little spoiler. I don't know if that's stock. It has a full-size actual wheel, not a donut spare, which is good. And it has the wide opening large door. I don't like doors when I'm out in the woods or on a trail that open from the bottom up, like a Range Rover or something. I want it to open like a big door, and this is nice. You can get in there, load stuff up, do whatever you need to do. So it won't close, and I'm trying to figure out why. And it says clearly, pull. And that is a safety measure, so if you are out on the trail and you have something apart trying to fix it here, the wind doesn't blow and smack you in the rear end. I like that. That's really cool. It's innovative. It's thoughtful. And you can see that it is an LS trim. Go around to this side, some more cladding being held on with screws, which, for what the intended purpose of this vehicle is, going having fun and having a blast with your buddies, who cares? Sheet metal screws on the cladding, but it is being held up and they're not going to just pop off. There's a few little dings on this side, but nothing serious, not caved in or anything. Let's go ahead and open the hood. So yes, it is a carbureted engine. You can see the carburetor there. No fuel injection. It is an Isuzu 2.3 liter inline 4-cylinder, and it has a whopping, I mean a huge, 92 horsepower at 4,600 RPM. And it also has a massive 125 pound-feet of torque at 2,600 RPM. This vehicle right here is designed in a manner that I have tried to stress to you guys before. This proves it. that you don't need a 500 horsepower Hemi to go have fun on the trails. In fact, you don't want that kind of power because all you will do is snap drive shafts and be stranded. The name of the game for climbing or trails is gearing, a transfer case with a low range and a reliable engine that otherwise probably gets decent gas mileage when you're on the highway. Better than a huge high horsepower engine. A lot of things are stock, but you can see the smog pump is not hooked up. It looks like it would still work, but those things lock up. They're known to fail at the worst times.
So, Wizard, I'm seeing a few things amiss here. What's going on with this cable here in the back?
That cable there looks like it goes to the cruise control servo that's over there. It looks like a UFO-shaped disc. For whatever reason it broke, it's not hooked up, but not a huge deal. Not even a concern to the customer. They just kind of want a list of everything, what's going on. We're still waiting to hear back or to get a hold of them to see what they want to do. Let's check our thermal clutch fan. Nice and tight. Everything looks good there.
Okay, another thing, what's being added there to the fuse panel?
Who knows? That could be a CB radio or even just a radio in general. It wasn't very well done, but we will investigate that and see what's going on. Junior Mint tells me one of the things we're going to get with the customer about is the fuel pump wiring has been wired with what I have jokingly mentioned in the past that I've seen, house wiring. The things that are behind the walls in your house, the wiring that's there, is now operating the fuel pump on an automobile. It works, but it's not really proper. So we'll see if we can see that when we get this up in the air. Again, the customer didn't do that. The customer just bought this vehicle, and that's why it's here. We're getting this stuff fixed.
So one last thing, Wizard. Is this block of wood stock as well?
No, that is holding in the battery, which is probably the improper battery. But there again, you know, it works. I would probably just get the correct battery and get the correct hold down. But it works for now. I got it here, I guess. Let's let Mrs. Wizard give you guys a tour of the interior.
Okay, legends, here we are. Let's see, what kind of mileage has this got? Oh, it says it has 135,793 miles on it. Obviously, some stuff needs to be put back together, and I think the Wizard's going to be talking to us about that. There is a bezel for that. Here we go. There you go. You can kind of see what it would really look like. It's still there. Obviously, it needs to be installed. So, but he's got a purpose for what's happening there. Otherwise, you can sell. This has got some age to it. But even with the age and just maybe some good old, you know, Armor All cleaner, this could clean up pretty good. There's no real cracks in this. Very, very, very microscopic, as wide as my hand dash, but it is looking good for the tiny bit that it is. Looks like we have a tiny little hole right there, and again, lovely screws holding this thing together. I think there's a lot of screws holding this one together. Nice simple controls on our HVAC system, and actually a stock Isuzu cassette player. This is a 5-speed stick, and as the Wizard said, this thing it starts right up and goes. I pulled it out of where it was hiding in the back line there, and it drove rather well. As we slide over, you'll see there is a seat cover over this. I wouldn't say much, just kind of setting over it. One thing that is interesting, it does have a nice woven design on the seats, and you can see on the driver's side as well, but underneath this base might have been replaced. I think it must be, because this is not mesh, this is just texture printed. This side is actually like a woven pattern. So, not sure what happened there. But the door cards are looking good. The headliner's not coming down, falling down on us. The back seat's kind of interesting there. If you notice that the backrest it doesn't go from edge to edge, which actually could be pretty good if you are in the back seat going on those trails, bobbling around. Your head actually isn't right next to the window to where it could get bonked. It does have window tinting, which during those days were not always done super fabulously. And the back window there, if we kind of zoom back there, kind of looks like you're in the ocean. So a little bit of kind of bubbling warpage going on back there. So other than that, I mean, it's not breaking apart. It's not, you know, peeling and curling. So that actually kind of works, even though it's got a little bit of a wave to it. But as I said, look at that headliner. Everything's looking good. Dome light's looking good up there. Nothing's falling apart. It is a vinyl, which probably helps overall how well it's working. The visors have definitely had a little bit of gravity go on them. They're a little puffy, a little bit, I guess, concave, looking at whichever way you want to look at that. It does have directions on using our four-wheel drive. We don't have to worry about the normal warnings we have on our visors where we have today cautioning you about airbags and things like that, because as we scroll down to that end view of our steering wheel, nothing in there. You push that, you're pushing the horn. Nothing else is behind that. There's no airbags. So better be careful driving this 1986 Classic. Otherwise, I'm curious what all the wizards got to tell us, and I think we're starting right here.
So Mrs. Wizard was right. We're right back in the interior again. One of the concerns the customer had was right at the brake pedal area. There's fluid pouring into the floor mat. You can see a dark stain there. And he was concerned that the brake master cylinder is leaking out through the pedal area. But when we did some inspecting, Junior Mint got in there and looked and found out that's actually the speedometer cable where it connects to the transmission is actually wicking or spiraling gear oil up through the cable and through the speedometer, dripping right down there. So we need to look into resealing that, but as far as the brakes are concerned, there's nothing wrong with the brakes. So this is one of those scenarios where you call for an estimate and say, give me an estimate on a master cylinder. And so we go through all the rigmarole to get the price together, and then you bring us the vehicle, and it wasn't even the master cylinder to begin with. But you were so sure it was. It doesn't always end up that way. So that's why we don't do a whole lot of estimates anymore. Once the vehicle's in the shop, we will get an estimate together. But we don't do over the phone, you think it's this, you think it's that. That's a waste of time for you and also for us. That doesn't do anyone any good until we know the facts and have the data. So let's get this thing on the lift and take a look underneath. So let's go ahead and start right here under the radiator support. There's a nice little shield there, which is good, so you don't break anything up there. But you can see it's nice and dry. There's the condenser, which the AC does work. We recharged it and it came back alive. You do have a seal going on here. It looks like the front main seal was leaking. You can see it right behind the main pulley there. So we'll get that on the list for the customer. That CV shaft looks pretty bad there.
Yeah, I think it's missing a major part of it.
Yep. We'll see if we can get a shaft. If not, we can take the joint apart and rebuild it and put a new boot, if we can even get one. This one needs a boot as well. We'll go ahead and check the brakes. They're about half gone, but they're good. Nothing loose. The shock is fine. Definitely needs some help with the CV shaft there. Here we have the lower oil pan is leaking. We'll need to reseal that. Yep, that boot is shot as well. This one's still okay, but we'll probably just replace it anyways because it'll fail next. Our shock is fine. Brakes are fine. Nothing loose there. And there's no real sway bar linked other than just a little rubber bushing. It goes straight up to the sway bar. Okay, move our way back. It looks like this is all coming from the oil pan. It's just leaking all over the place there. Transmission looks okay. Another shield. And our little baby transfer case. Look at that, Mrs. Wizard.
Oh, it's so cute.
Let's check the little shaft. Yep. This front U-joint is bad. Okay. That one seems okay. Here's our speedometer. It hooks to actually the transfer case or the output shaft. It's drawing fluid from that location all the way up to the speedometer and spilling it onto the floor. Here's our carrier bearing, and it looks okay. This U-joint. Something seems loose here. And it is the U-joint. Yep, that U-joint is in fact bad. So that doesn't look like house wiring to me. Maybe he meant like speaker wiring in your house or something, but that's definitely not how we want to properly run wiring for our fuel pump. We will be pricing to redo that. This is actually a scenario where a customer could decline to fix this, and that's where we would have to write a disclaimer on the bill that says, not responsible for fires caused by this kind of business here. There's a little bit of seepage from our differential carrier, but it's really not pouring out. We'll let them know about it, see what they'd like to do with that. So this is definitely an old leak. I don't know if it's current. It could be an axle seal. It could be a brake wheel cylinder. We'll have to take the drums off at some point and see what's going on there. The shock is dry. Same scenario here, and I'm seeing it coming seepage right here. That makes me think it's just a gasket or something here, a flange seal or a gasket. The shock is dry. Our fuel pump is obviously new, and so is our fuel tank. It looks fairly new, within the last several years anyway. Who knows what's going on there. And there's our little exhaust pipe that's seen better days. It's kind of mashed up and rusted at the tip. But the rust on the body isn't really not so bad. There's a little bit of rust, but...
Yeah, it looks like they had a spray put on.
Yeah, some sort of an undercoating.
Yeah.
So there's lots of little things that need to be done to bring it up to snuff. But there's nothing majorly serious or major rebuilds or anything like that going on. Just a lot of neglected maintenance or repairs over the years. We don't need to check the tires. They're brand new, like brand new. So we'll go ahead and get it on the ground. Yes, I'm standing next to Jean-Claude Van Damme's Bentley Azure. That was his car. Actually, it's Tyler from Hoovie's Garage now, but man, it just makes me want to get after it. Okay, enough of the car, guys. That's goofy. This is a really cool vehicle. I wouldn't mind having one if I lived in the mountains or in Colorado or Montana or something. This would be my cruising around the mountains vehicle. It needs a lot of small things, but they add up when you add 200 here, 500 there, 300 there, $50 there, and you get a list that's this long. I don't have a total yet, but it could easily be 3, 4, 5 grand. And a person could say, I didn't spend that much on the whole vehicle. Well, then don't buy one, because it costs that much to pay a shop to do the work. Now, you can save money if you do the work. Then it becomes a fun weekend project. You can get it up to snuff yourself and feel good that you did the work. Typically, we don't take on restoration projects. It's usually a case-by-case basis. This customer doesn't want to do a full restoration. They just want to get the maintenance caught up, and then they want to go and cruise and enjoy it. If this customer would have said, I want you to take the body off the frame and just go from start to finish, I would say, hell no. We don't do that here. There are shops in California that charge 30 and 40 and 50 grand. They will fully restore top to bottom, just like the blue Jeep back there. The owner of that Jeep informed me that he called a shop that does full restorations, and it was 120 grand to get that one done. So no, it's not going to be done for 3 grand. We're going to get a list together for this customer, see how far he'd like to go. We'll prioritize a list to the customer and see what needs to get done, what they would like to get done, what's more important to get done, and Maybe a few things he'd like to get fixed because he wants them fixed. This is definitely a fun vehicle worth fixing, and I kind of look forward to working on it, or Junior Mint does anyway. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this Trooper II, check out my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's so many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.